Number 15. What if none of this matters? Final boss time. You're staring at the ceiling, or the stars, or the inside of a cereal box, and you think, what's the point? Everything's pointless. Nothing I do matters. Say hello to existential dread, the psychological equivalent of a fog machine blowing into your sense of purpose. Everyone hits this wall at some point, especially smart, sensitive, overthinky types. The realization that life is short, chaotic, and ruled by entropy can make your brain go full nihilist. Nothing matters, so why bother? It says, well, you're just trying to do your laundry. But here's the twist. If nothing has inherent meaning, that means you get to choose what matters. That's not a crisis. That's creative control. You're not stuck in a meaningless world. You're holding the Sharpie that draws the meaning in. Psychologists argue that purpose is something we build, not something we find. So yeah, maybe the universe doesn't care. But your friends do. Your pets do. That raccoon from earlier definitely does. Meaning isn't cosmic. It's relational, and it's yours to define. So when your brain spirals into the void screaming, what's the point? Remind it. The point is what you decide to care about, whether that's helping others, creating weird art, eating good bread, or making sarcastic countdown videos about weird psychology. Number 14. What if I'm just broken? You're scrolling TikTok, watching a raccoon eat grapes, and suddenly your brain whispers, everyone else is functioning. You're the glitch. You're the broken one. Cue existential despair with a side of doom. This thought is a hallmark of depression, burnout, neurodivergence, or, let's be honest, being alive in late-stage capitalism. The feeling of being fundamentally flawed is so common. Psychologists have entire diagnostic manuals wrapped around it. But here's the twist. That feeling isn't proof you're broken. It's proof you're self-aware, in a world that often feels impossible. You're not failing. You're reacting appropriately to nonsense. And your brain just hasn't figured out how to put that in nicer terms. When you compare yourself to others, you're often comparing your inner chaos to their external PR. That guy who seems perfect, his meltdown at 2 a.m., that influencer with the color-coded pantry, anxiety, gremlin, full-time. No one is walking around fully put together. We're all patching holes in the mental drywall. Feeling broken doesn't make you broken. It makes you human. Which is messy, weird, self-contradictory, and constantly convinced it's the only one falling apart. Spoiler, you're not. You're just part of the club that admits it. Number 13. What if I secretly did something awful and forgot? You're lying in bed, minding your own business, when suddenly, what if I did something terrible years ago and just, erased it from my memory? Enter false memory spiral. It's where your brain decides to become a conspiracy theorist about you. Suddenly, you ransacking your mental archives for proof that you didn't commit a crime you made up 5 seconds ago. It usually goes like this. Did I hit someone with my car and just black out the memory? Why don't I remember that one Tuesday in 2012? What if I'm repressing something and I'm the villain? This is your brain weaponizing uncertainty. It's anxiety as final form, creating a mystery with no evidence and then blaming you for not solving it. Basically, your neurons just invented a psychological true crime documentary, starring you as both the suspect and the narrator. Why does this happen? Because your brain has a hard time with ambiguity. And when it finds a memory gap, which we all have, by the way, it fills it with worst-case scenarios, like a toddler drawing monsters in a coloring book. But here's the thing. Forgetting isn't the same as being guilty. Not remembering every detail of your life is literally how memory works. The brain edits, deletes, compresses. It's not a courtroom stenographer. It's more like a squirrel with ADHD trying to sort its acorns. So next time you wonder if you accidentally robbed a bank in 2009 and just blacked out, take a breath. If you have no evidence, no victims, no news reports, and no duffel bag of unmarked bills, it's probably just your anxiety auditioning for a crime thriller. Number 12. What if I never feel normal again? Maybe you're anxious or sad or just feeling off, and your brain decides to turn that dial too. What if this is permanent? What if this is forever now? This is the anxiety classic known as emotional permanence panic, where you assume that how you feel right now is how you'll always feel. Forever, until the sun explodes. It's irrational but convincing, because when you're deep in a spiral, your brain's prediction skills are absolute trash. It's like asking a goldfish to do your taxes. Emotionally, it has no idea what it's doing. Ironically, you felt better before. You've probably even told yourself, it'll pass. But when you're in the thick of it, that part of your memory takes an extended vacation. The truth? No emotion is permanent. Literally, even the worst feelings, dread, shame, grief, they ebb, change, morph. Your brain is just really bad at imagining a future when it's busy drowning in the present. So if you're thinking, I'll never feel okay again, remind yourself, you've thought that before. And yet here you are, still weird, still alive, still fighting your brain's dramatic tendencies, like a psychological action hero. Number 11. What if I've always been wrong? You're mid-conversation, or reading, or zoning out in the shower. And suddenly, what if everything I believe is completely wrong? Like fundamentally. Say hello to your philosophical panic button. This is your brain doing the psychological equivalent of shaking the Etch-a-Sketch and questioning every opinion, memory, or belief you've ever had. It's the mental version of waking up in a parallel universe where your favorite movie sucks and gravity works sideways. This usually shows up during identity transitions, anxiety spikes, or moments of deep introspection. It's called cognitive dissonance overload, where your brain tries to reconcile conflicting ideas, and then short circuits into an existential scream. It doesn't mean your beliefs are actually wrong. It means your brain is testing the mental scaffolding to make sure it's still sturdy. Then unfortunately, your brain is about as subtle as a jackhammer. This isn't a sign of delusion, it's a sign of thinking. People who never question their beliefs, not paragons of mental stability, just really committed to not evolving. So if you're spiraling about whether you've been wrong your entire life, congratulations. You're probably just becoming a more complex, self-aware person. Also, welcome to the club. We meet Tuesdays. Number 10. What if I forgot how to swallow? You're eating soup, nothing fancy, then your throat does something weird? Not choking, just wrong. And suddenly, wait, how do I even swallow? What if I forget? What if it just never happens again? Cue, panic, muscle clenching. An urgent Google search about nerves you've never heard of. Welcome to sensory motor obsession, where your brain hyperfixates on a body function you usually do on autopilot. It's like your brain looked at a process that it's been fine your entire life and decided, you know what this needs? Anxiety. So now you're manually swallowing, blinking, or breathing, and the second you think about it, it feels impossible. It's not dangerous, just annoying. And the more you try to control it, the weirder it gets, because breathing isn't supposed to be a group project. This type of hyper-awareness is common in people with anxiety and OCD. Your brain's basically zooming in too far. Like opening a 4,000 photo of your elbow and suddenly questioning the entire concept of skin. But here's the good news. These functions don't forget themselves. Your body doesn't need your supervision. In fact, the less you think about it, the faster it goes back to running in the background, like a well-behaved app you never open. So if you ever feel like you're about to forget how to blink forever, just know, your body's got this. Your brain just needs to calm the hell down. Number 9. Is everyone pretending to like me? You're out with friends? Laughter, inside jokes, fries being stolen across the table. Classic good time. And then boom. What if they're all just pretending? What if I'm the charity case? Congratulations, you've unlocked the worst party trick ever. Imposter syndrome, but for relationships. It's like your brain is staging a paranoia flash mob, just to keep things spicy. This little mental prank comes from a deep evolutionary need to belong. Back in hunter-gatherer days, being liked wasn't optional, it was survival. So your brain developed a hypersensitivity to group vibes, which in 2025 translates into. They paused for 2 seconds after your joke. That's social doom. And even when people show affection or appreciation, your brain goes, suspicious. Probably a setup, because obviously 13 people coordinated a fake friendship just to avoid hurting your feelings. Makes total sense. This is also fueled by low self-worth, imposter feelings, or past experiences where trust was broken. But the irony, you thinking this makes you more reserved, more distant, which actually does affect how people perceive you. It's classic self-fulfilling prophecy. So if you catch yourself mentally checking the authenticity tags on every friendship, take a breath. You're not a burden. You're not an imposter. You're just a very self-aware mammal with trust issues and a flair for internal drama. Number 8. What if I don't really love them? You're in a great relationship. No red flags. Your partner is kind, hot, emotionally available, basically a unicorn. But then, out of the blue, your brain leans in and goes, "But do you actually love them? Or are you just pretending?" Cue panic, existential doubt. It's the internal equivalent of refreshing your feelings like a broken web page. Welcome to the wonderful world of relationship OCD, or ROCD, if you're fancy. This isn't about bad relationships. It's about intrusive uncertainty in good ones. Your brain gets hyperfocused on whether your feelings are real enough, strong enough, or perfect enough, because perfection is obviously the minimum standard for human connection, right? No, that's not how feelings work. They fluctuate. They evolve. And sometimes your brain can tell the difference between normal relationship ups and downs and run for the hills. It's a trap. This kind of spiraling usually comes from anxiety, not lack of love. It's the mental equivalent of poking a bruise over and over to make sure it still hurts. And it doesn't mean your relationship is doomed. It means your brain is trying to control something that's not meant to be micromanaged. Because love isn't a math problem. It's more like a Wi-Fi signal. Sometimes strong, sometimes glitchy, still very much working. Number 7. What if I said something awful right now? Picture this. You're on a Zoom call with your boss. Everything's fine. Then your brain serves up this little gem. What if I just shouted the worst possible word in human language right now? Just said it. And suddenly, your muscles tense, your throat closes up, and you're basically holding your breath to prevent your own betrayal. Welcome to Taboo Intrusive Thoughts, the dark comedy writers in your head who specialize in social sabotage. These are the kind of thoughts that make you go, "Oh my God, I would never say that. Why did I even think it?" And that right there is the point. These thoughts exist because your brain knows they're the opposite of what you want to say. They read the result of overactive mental filters, not a sign that you secretly harbor evil desires. In fact, the more those thoughts horrify you, the more that shows your values are intact. Your brain's just glitching like a haunted radio, tuning into random offensive nonsense. And let's be real. If everyone actually said the things their brains randomly thought, civilization would have collapsed during the first group project in middle school. So no, you're not secretly a monster. You're just hosting an unhinged inner monologue that loves playing, "What's the worst thing I could say here?" for absolutely no reason. Number 6. Am I faking all of this? You're crying, exhausted, or dealing with a legitimate mental health crisis. And then out of nowhere, wait, am I faking this for attention? Even though you're clearly not, like objectively. But your brain loves playing imposter syndrome. Emotional addition, a delightful game where even your suffering gets gaslit by your own neurons. This thought is way more common than people admit. It's called self-invalidating cognition. And it's a fun little side effect of being self-aware in a world that constantly downplays emotional struggle. We grow up being told others have it worse, suck it up or just smile more, so eventually, your brain starts thinking maybe your pain isn't real unless it's on a catastrophic scale. Bonus points if you re-high functioning, because then your ability to do stuff like feed yourself gets misread as proof you refine. But emotions don't work like that. You can be outwardly functional and still feel like you're underwater. You can laugh at memes and still be depressed. You can literally spiral in silence for weeks and still question if you're being dramatic. Spoiler, you're not. If you're feeling it, it's real. Your brain just forgot how to trust itself. Again. Number 5. What if I left the stove on? Forever. You're halfway to work. You're confident, caffeinated, unstoppable, till your brain drops the bomb. You left the stove on. Your apartment is definitely a smoldering pile of regret. You picture the flames, the news headlines, the landlord's face. Your cat becomes a tragic hero in a fire safety PSA. But plot twist, you didn't even use the stove today. This is classic obsessive thought territory, and it usually shows up in the form of hyper-checking locks, stoves, curling irons, existential dread. It's your brain trying to manage anxiety by doing something, even if that something is mentally running fire drills in the middle of rush hour traffic. The twist? These thoughts aren't useful, but your brain thinks they might be, just in case. It's the mental equivalent of checking that your passport is in your bag 17 times, even though you haven't moved in an hour. We're wired to be cautious, because back in caveman times, just double-checking could. VA meant the difference between survival and being eaten by something with too many teeth. But now, in the golden age of microwaves and air fryers, this instinct just ends up giving us unnecessary panic spirals. So no, you're not losing your mind. You're just a human with a highly imaginative fire safety officer living rent-free in your skull. Number 4. Do I even exist? Ah, yes, the accidental existential crisis. You're rebrushing your teeth or waiting for an Uber, and suddenly, bam. What if I am just a brain in a jar? Or worse, what if none of this is real, and I'm in a simulation run by middle schoolers? Welcome to derealization, where reality feels slightly off, like you're living in a dream or a low-budget CGI scene. It can be triggered by stress, fatigue, anxiety, or watching too many Christopher Nolan movies. It's unsettling, but super common. And ironically, the more you worry about it, the more real it starts to feel unreal. It's like your brain's trying to debug the Matrix with no training. It's this ISNT madness. It's your overworked brain trying to cope by emotionally checking out. Like, oh, we're stressed? Cool, let me just detach from reality real quick. No biggie. So if you ever feel like your hands aren't in yours or the world is made of cardboard, don't worry. You Haven T entered a parallel universe. You just overdue for a nap and a snack. Number 3. I could ruin everything right now. Ever been at a wedding and thought, what if I screamed the F word during the vows? Or in church thinking, what if I just flipped off the priest? You're not evil. You're not broken. You're just hosting a surprise party for intrusive thoughts. Intrusive thoughts are like that weird friend who shows up uninvited and starts offering spicy takes during a funeral. They're unwanted, unfiltered, and deeply uncomfortable. But, and here's the key part, they don't reflect your values. They're actually a sign that your brain knows what's inappropriate. You're not going to dropkick the flower girl, but your brain throws that idea into the mental suggestion box anyway, just to see what happens. Some researchers think this is your brain practicing restraint. It's testing the do not push red button circuitry. And if the thought disturbs you, that's a good sign. It means your moral compass is working just fine. So next time you imagine ruining a job interview by licking the desk, remember, your brain's not trying to do it. It's just running a terrible improv show without your permission. Number 2, what if everyone secretly hates me? Let's play a fun little game called Social Anxiety Roulette. You walk into a room, people laugh, your brain goes, they're laughing at you. Obviously you exist, and that's hilarious. This particular brand of mental sabotage is rooted in evolution. Back when being exiled from the tribe meant becoming bear food, your brain learned to be hyper-aware of other people's opinions. So now, in the age of HR departments and oat milk lattes, your amygdala still thinks Karen from accounting is going to banish you to the forest if you say something weird. Even worse, you remember every embarrassing moment you've ever had? But guess what? No one else does. They're too busy panicking about their embarrassing moments to care about yours. Literally erased from human history. Your brain's just trying to protect you. It thinks hypervigilance will keep you liked, accepted, and safe. But, spoiler, constantly overthinking whether your barista hates you isn't survival strategy. It's a cortisol hobby. So yeah, your brain's kind of like an overbearing parent, constantly worried you'll be socially exiled for blinking too loudly. Number 1, what if I just jump? You're standing on a balcony, or maybe a cliff, or one of those sketchy mall escalators with the weird handrail smell. Suddenly your brain whispers, hey, what if we just jumped? First of all, no, this does not mean you're suicidal. It means your brain is doing that charming little thing where it malfunctions like a sleep-deprived intern trying to sound helpful. This thought actually has a name, the call of the void, which sounds like an emo band, but is just French existentialism rebranded for Twitter. Psychologists call it high place phenomena. Basically, your brain is trying to confirm that you're not going to jump by, suggesting that you could. It's like a mental security check. Are you aware this is dangerous? Yes. Cool. Just making sure. Carry on. It's not limited to cliffs either. Ever had the urge to swerve your car into oncoming traffic for absolutely no reason? Or stick a fork in a toaster? Or yell in a quiet room full of strangers? Yeah, that S'd your brain testing your impulse control systems. Like a bored cat knocking stuff off a shelf to see what gravity's up to today. It's totally normal. Creepy? Yes. But your brain's just doing some light mischief, while making sure you read not a menace to society. Think of it as your internal chaos gremlin making sure you still have a moral compass. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.